You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right. Welcome to the show. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here locally in the Central Florida area, 94.9 FM and 950 on the AM dial. If you miss us here in Central Florida, we'll be on streaming here in a few days on Spotify and iTunes, and we'll be up on our YouTube page as well. ContractorTalkPodcast.com is a website you can find us, and or subscribe to our YouTube page for full videos of our content here today. And you'll never see Hans Kennon in the same suit more than one time. And so just for that alone, you want to visit our YouTube page. Yeah, absolutely. You want to see that. What's going on, Hans? How are you?
I'm doing fine. There's a lot going on, Rich. I have to tell you, a lot going on. Legislature.
There's a lot going
bills
on.
Are coming out like it's like Lucy on making chocolate.
Yes, it was a slow go at first. You did the same thing. I even brought my computer. I was looking it up. I saw a Senate bill for attorney's fees. It was like $462 or whatever. And I said, let me see the companion in the House, because the House is going to run this bill this year.
Yeah.
And to be found that it was my friend Hillary Cassell, Representative Cassell. Mm-hmm. And so I immediately called her, and she texted me, she's like, I'm in a meeting. I'm like, all right, tell me your bill is going to go through versus anybody, because now their bills are flowing. Which ones are going through? Yep. The Speaker of the House, presumably last year, was saying if there was a bill to be out on attorney's fees, it will be a committee-sponsored bill through the Banking Insurance Committee there in the House, and it's going to control. So I was like, okay, if that's still, I know things could have changed. I was going to say stuff has changed. Just so I got the look. I'm sure stuff has changed. Yeah,
things happen.
Things do happen, and things have changed since then. So what is it now? And so obviously she's hopeful that her bill on attorney's fees will go through. So anyways, that's fantastic to hear that something that great of news is finally coming out, because it was less than hopeful when the bills first started coming out. Mandatory mediation, both sides must bear their own fees and costs just to mediate as a predicate to filing suit against their insurance company in case there's a gap.
Right now, the insurer pays it all. I mean, so they're literally reverting and telling people you have to write a check to go to mediation.
Right,
against your owning carrier through the state of Florida.
Just to hear citizens come to the table with $500.
Yeah, we're definitely all done.
I know there's $300,000 worth of damage and your roof is not there, but here's $500. You good? And then you have to pay for that, and then you're able to file suit. I didn't like that bill that was proposed already that first came out that looked at mandatory mediation prior to filing suit.
And if it was mandatory mediation, I can live with that if the insurer has to pay it.
Right.
I mean, even that we can live with, because it's mediation. You always learn. I always tell my clients, you always learn something in mediation. Something happens, you go, I didn't know that, or you learn nothing and you realize you have everything you need to know.
That's right. And knowing is half the battle. All right. So anyway, but we have a great show for you today. As you can tell, Hans and I are both fired up about legislative session this year. As a few years ago, we as consumers got a lot of rights stripped away from us in all forms of insurance, from property to auto to life and for medical. If you had a dispute against your insurer, then you just have to pay everything. Everything comes out of your pocket now, even when they're wrong. And so that's never been fair, and it has been that way since like the 1890s here in the state of Florida. The Florida Supreme Case Law came out that said if you have a dispute against your insurer and they are wrong, you are owed that full amount. And in today's terms, you're looking at it, I have $10,000 to fix my roof, and that's what it cost me to the penny to fix my roof. Insurer was wrong. You would believe that I would get the full $10,000 to be able to replace my roof. But 2 years ago, they took away, 2.5 years or whatever, they took away our rights to say I can then hire Hans Kennon, a lawyer for 25 plus years, a board certified lawyer to be able to have on your side to go against the big insurance companies, which have endless amount of money. And their subsidiaries, as you know, as we talked about in the last show, have over an abundance of profits from the insurance companies. But now we can finally level up again if this were the case, because for the past couple of years, Hans had to switch his protocol to saying, you will get all of your disputed amount to you, and I'll get my attorney's fees separately and paid by the insurance company, not by you, the homeowner. And so now we're looking at some good legislation that would bring that back to where they're still talking about reasonable attorney's fees. They're still talking about possibly if you do win, then the judge maybe awards how much, but we'll talk about that, the pros and cons about that. But it seemingly is going the right direction for consumers. And that's always right, or that's always somewhere in the right direction, because the past couple of years we've been going the wrong direction for consumers.
That's for sure. There's been a lot. I know I brought a couple of, I did bring the Senate bill regarding attorney's fees and costs. We can chat about it a little later. There was a good an op-ed piece in the Orlando Sentinel the other day about Danny Perez and Senator Albritton, which talks about their opening speeches after DeSantis, who was as they called it, a limp second act. But I thought about Perez's speech on Tuesday, coming minutes after a general address by Senate President Albritton gave Floridians hope after more than a decade of prioritizing politicized gimmicks targeting marginalized groups and bowing to the whims of Ron DeSantis. Lawmakers are tired of paying lip service to the state's biggest problems. While Albritton wasn't as passionate, he also seemed more resistant to DeSantis' priorities. So I think, sounds like, now one thing DeSantis did say that was kind of a mixed message, was he said he would not sign any legislation that incentivized litigation. Which is a little bit in opposite to what my understanding was regarding this bill. But I believe loser pays, which is what the bill is we're talking about, where the loser would end up paying the winner's attorney's fees. I think doesn't incentivize litigation. I think it provides fairness to litigation.
Absolutely. Right now, it's not, even if you win, you don't win all the way. You win like 60% or 70% or whatever at your best day.
So I'm not sure exactly what the governor meant by that, but I think we can look at that and he can still, I think with a straight face, say putting these provisions back in doesn't incentivize litigation. It simply makes litigation against an insurance company more fair or more fair like it was.
Right. I mean, there's definitely a lot of space to clean this up this year. And speaking of, we have a special guest for us tonight. Randall with Voda Cleaning and Restoration has joined us tonight for our show. It's always great to have an expert here to talk about what is now what's going on, because the whole industry has changed on all sides as contractors, and that's what we are supported by, the Restoration Association of Florida, a nonprofit by contractors for contractors, to help not only us to be the leading folks in the industry, but also to inform consumers and to be at our best game with consumers. None of us like to lien homes, especially when insurance proceeds are payable and the benefits are there. And so what we've seen is just an uncertain insurance market on the property side, and hopefully us rebuilding. And so part of that are great folks that work in this industry that help homeowners and put them first, and not just put the insurance companies first. And we'll talk about that later, how they just don't have any Google reviews. They don't have a Better Business Bureau. And everybody on I'll call it the light side, right? The ones that put consumers first, great reviews, A+ rating on Better Business Bureau. And those are the folks you want to work with, and when they put you first. And so speaking of, Randall, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, fellas? Everything's going well.
Yeah,
everything's for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're here, both offsite and here online. It's great, man.
Yes, sir.
I think I did. Was it Mike the other day that I met? Was that?
Yeah. Mike is the owner of Voda, Voda of North Orlando, and I do the operations for that branch over there.
What is? I'm always curious about, like, what does Voda? Does that mean anything? Is that just a trade name?
That's good. That's a good question. Voda actually means water in Serbian, Russian as well. So that's the word for water. Oh. So a lot of people that are Serbian descent or Russian, they're very familiar with Voda. Voda's main motto is a new level of clean. And back to what Richie was saying, we like to give people a different type of experience, because we know that mitigation is not something new, but it's how you actually, process, claims with people and just the experience that they go through, because everybody pays for insurance, but they really don't have the knowledge of what it takes to actually go through the process. So, it's not easy to explain that to people. Everybody has their own learning curve. Mm-hmm. So it's good to have communication in a way that you could communicate to everybody that goes through those things that actually make them feel that, they want to get to the other side, but sometimes it's not that fast. So we got to give them realistic expectations and basically
Right.
walk them through the process.
I can tell you just on my side, representing folks who had remediation done, a lot of them are not, in all honesty, overly, I'm not say they're satisfied with the work, but they would have liked to have a better experience with it. A lot of people, once you guys get done, I think they tend to forget the work you've done and what it takes. It's important to remind them and show them what it is you're doing, how you do it, and the fact that it is perhaps different than others might, because they don't always have a strong memory of the time and effort that goes into it. I think that they're about working their day or whatever it may be, and you're there doing your thing, and they come back and they're like, it looks about the same, when in fact it's not.
But the part that which I feel people need to always realize is that it's the stress and stuff that people go through and the uncertainty that sometimes we forget because we have a lot of jobs that we're managing. But like you said, Hans, it's important and imperative that you actually speak to these people and make everything in layman terms, even though we're professionals, so they can actually get a grasp of what's really going on. Because a lot of times people get confused. If their insurance company says you're denied, you're the worst person in the world because the insurance company put them in a state of mind that they're frantic, they're frazzled. So it's your job to basically, I guess, coach them, and try and, lead them the proper way and give them the proper information, because misinformation causes people to not really have any knowledge of what's really going on. They know they had water pipes leaking and stuff like that, but like you said, they have regular life going on, things are going on. So it's our job as a professional. If somebody signs a work authorization with me, it's my job for me to walk them through the process to the end and to really, and it's easier said than done, but that's really, that's having integrity. That's really caring about the customer, like Richie was saying earlier, and really having that patience to understand that people are people. And like you said, they might forget certain stuff, but me as an operations manager, it's my job to kind of like bring them back to just the reality of what we're really dealing with.
I always tell people too that I always tell my staff, we always have to remember people who come to us, whether it's Richie, whether it's Randall, it's you, they all come to us at a time that's not their best time. They're not coming to us when everything's perfect, going, you know what, don't need you guys, everything's great. They're coming to you at one of often the worst time, with either their family or themselves, the home's flooded, there's damage, all those things. And I always tell my staff to remember that they don't come to us on their best day. They come sometimes on their worst day. And we have to always remember that and try to treat them with the idea that it's, for us, sometimes it can be a job. For them, it's their life, it's their home, it's everything to them.
Well, I always give them hot sauce and it makes them feel better.
There you go.
Richie knows about the hot sauce.
I do have a bottle of hot sauce on my desk right now. I gotta say. Well, and Hans, to your point, I mean, even look at today, a tornado came through Central Florida.
Oh my God.
Lake Mary area, even in Longwood, in other areas throughout Florida. That's where I'm around. So that was just right in our backyard.
There's a photo of a house gone on Markham Woods Road, and I don't know if it's
Wow.
if it's a
Yes, I saw it. It dropped. Yeah, I seen that as well earlier.
I mean, like gone.
Wow. State Farm be like, it was built improperly. Denied.
It's a building defect.
Right.
It couldn't withstand the tornado. It's a building defect.
It's not a name storm. All right, so I love the excuses, but there are a few ways whenever you do have a property damage claim, even after something like today, when you do call your insurance company to make a claim, some policies do have it to where you have to use their managed care provider, and that's a contract you signed that your insurance company gave you and hopefully gave you a discount for, hopefully a big one, because a lot of these guys are like, it's like having Medicare type of service, but paying for a full blown policy, right? Price wise. So it's like you never get the best care. And so you have that. Most policies don't have that, but if you do, you have to go with the flow. Most don't. So when you do make that claim and they try to guide you towards one of their vendors, I would say pause, wait, and make a phone call to somebody that has been in the industry for a while, that has the experience, and that puts you first, has the right credentials, insurances, all that stuff. And members of the Restoration Association of Florida are that. They are vetted through a state nonprofit association to ensure that they do and have good business ethics to treat and protect homeowners. And especially when their one time of loss comes around. The statistics are once every 10 years or once in a lifetime, or when people have to deal with this type of claim in their home. Right. And so it's like when they do, like you said, there's a lot of confusion and things are being stated to them by newly certified insurance adjusters, which they'll tell you have to get 3 estimates for each type of incident or each type of substrate, rather it be like, go get 3 estimates for your roof, 3 estimates for the interior and that kind of stuff. And that's just a faux. It's something that you don't have to do. It's misinformation. But outside of that, when they need somebody to come out, they need somebody that knows how to dry them out, make sure there's not mold in their home while they're waiting for insurance proceeds to come. I know your firm does that. You contact Randall at Voda Cleaning and Restoration, come out, and I know you offer free in-home estimates and that type of stuff as well. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. If anybody needs to get in contact with me, my direct number is area code 631-455-7129. Once again, that's 631-455-7129. My name is Randall Garcy. And my email is Randall, RANDALL GARCY at myvoda.com. That's Randall.Garcy at myvoda.com. Wow. And back to what you were saying, Richie, I just had a customer today that I actually had James meet me over there earlier. They own this home for 26 years. Their roof was leaking. They went and got a portion of it fixed, and they told me, Randall, I never put in the claim for this home. So I put them in line with James because there was something going on in the kitchen, and I let them know, like, listen, I understand, the confusion. I know that you're trying to be proactive, but I want to help, put you in line with the right people that's going to actually, I don't have any problem doing the remediation, but before I do so, I know you're willing to move forward. Let me put you in line with the proper team that I work with. So this way, this process could be more palatable for you.
That's right.
And she called me back today. She was like, thank you, Randall. And then even when I went there today, they were supposed to meet with my adjuster, but it's the little things. They receive a protocol. People read paperwork. They perceive it how they perceive it. They're not professionals. They're just reading paperwork. So I went through the paperwork and explained to them containments, what it meant. They had dogs. I told them I had to protect their home, protect their family, protect their animals. And then they kind of felt better because they was just seeing it on their perception. I do this all the time. I've been doing this over 10 years. So sometimes you got to be on the same side of the table. I mean, anything that I do, I'm always on the same side of the table as people. They might think that I'm on the other side, but I'm always sitting right next to them. I said, think of me as one of your friends in the bar talking to you. Like, I'm not here trying to, misguide you or give you misinformation. I'm actually trying to make you understand what the real expectations are. Right. And I believe in under-promising and over-delivering. That's the best way to do it.
Now, one question I have for you. So if somebody does have a claim and they have water damage inside their home, they're starting to accumulate mold, what services do you provide within your company, within your scope that you're handling? And are you the number one contact for them once they do contact you? How far can you help them and assist them to ensure that they're put back to a pre-loss condition?
That's a great question. Yes. If anybody has any issues in regards to emergency services, storm damage, water, fire, microbial growth, mold damage, I'm there able to help them walk through that process, remediate. We also are a new level of clean, so we provide carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning, and also tile and grout cleaning as well to customers, which is very helpful to a lot of homeowners in the state of Florida.
That's awesome.
So anything that's going on, like I tell people all the time, if you have my number, once again, it's 631-455-7129. They could call me at any time, and I will walk them through any process, even if it's not something directly pertaining to remediation. If there's a way that I could help somebody to put them in line, because I deal with a lot of people, we have a vast network
like
of people that we work with.
Something like that.
Anything that they need. I don't ever turn away people. If I don't have an answer, I will find an answer for them. So, if someone has a home and they have a question about something, I'm always available to help people, just in general,
That's awesome. And how much do you charge for an estimate?
There's no cost involved in the estimate. As you said, we come in, we do estimates, no charge. We actually come to just assess what's going on. And at that time, if I see that there's another step needed to be taken, that's when I'll communicate with them and let them know what they need to do to move forward, to expedite that and to start remediate. I tell people all the time, if I see a leak, if it's a dry home, that's different. But if we see that there's a source of water, let's stabilize and protect your home right away. And then I'll elaborate or what the steps are going to be needed to do so.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, the first thing you want to do after you call your insurance company, file the claim, you want to call Randall to get your what they call is called stabilized. You want to get your home stabilized to ensure the damage doesn't get worse, sure that the water damage doesn't turn into mold, turns into a bad place to live while you're going through this process. And it could be a very long process. We've seen them to where they go for, I was going to say years and years, and sometimes even that long before it gets to Hans, and he has to file suit, and then, and then years and years to a resolution. And sometimes some of these families are living in this mess until they get a resolution because they don't have a way out, and nobody stepped into their home and said, hey, listen, most of your rooms are compromised, and there is a way, there are specialists that we can refer you to that will help you advance additional living expenses so you can be put in a home while your stuff is being dealt with. And then other folks involved, like we would recommend Hans, to say, well, let's get involved and start pushing them to start making payments if that hasn't happened yet. Or what does your policy look like? What limits do they have within there? We mentioned James as a public adjuster to review their policy and to say what is covered and what's not. And you have those folks right there in your Rolodex to say, hey, this is how it should work. Hopefully they're treating you fairly. And that's great. And the insurance companies specifically don't want us to do that. I mean, they would put laws even in Senate Bill 76 to try to restrict roofers from offering information to homeowners, but they were giving them like gift cards too, which I don't think is a bad thing. Because if somebody calls me right now and says, hey, I can refer you here or whatever, let me thank you and let me take you out to dinner, let me give you a gift card, let me give you something. But no, the legislature said, oh, no, what's happening? Let's quiet all these roofers that are knocking on doors after a storm and telling folks like, hey, we can possibly get this reimbursed under your policy of insurance. And to the point that we're giving out $500, if they make a claim, they would give them a $500 gift card. And if that's coming out of the home, the business owner's pocket, why not? You know what I mean? And they would make fun of people knocking on doors. You heard the CFO, who is the head of the DFS, Department of Financial Services, which oversees public adjusters, but literally calling public adjusters locusts after showing up after storms with cell phones that work and power cords to help people out and say, hey, let me help you and let me help you call in a claim to help this go faster. And he called them locusts. That's not fair. So, but here we are, we have good folks on this show and we give you good information. That's exactly what the insurance companies don't want, are sophisticated business owners like us informing them, the consumers, of what could possibly or how this should look like if they're one type of loss. Like you said, these folks were living in the home, 26 years?
26 years. Well, lack of information is lack of knowledge. And I agree. I mean, in this climate right now, people need to have the knowledge. I'm not just talking about customers. I'm talking about my own family members. My family is in Port St. Lucie. My sister and my mom called me. They were like, oh, there's mold. I was like, oh, is there microbial growth? Let me get an assessor over there for you, and they'll tell you what you got. Long story short, even with family, I have to break it down for them and slow it down. Because sometimes we're already in the industry that we're in. So sometimes I'm from New York. I already know I'm usually fast. But I'm mindful that I have to slow everything down sometimes just because I need to make people catch up to where I'm at, because we do what we do on a professional level, and sometimes we don't realize how many steps ahead we are, because we've been through many storms, we've been through ups, we've been through downs, we've seen good, we know everything's not perfect, but people, they didn't see all that. They only see their home, they only see their loss, so they don't really have the full picture, you know? So finding the right people to communicate with them and make them feel comfortable about whatever transgression they're going through, because let's be realistic, it's stressful. Like you said, people are living in their houses, they got machines, the machines are making noise, they're like, oh, can I turn it off at night? And you're like, listen, you can't turn this off, this is going to be protecting your home. So these are the things you got to really give them real expectations and talk to people so you could communicate with them, so you guys could be on the same page, because it's their home still, right? So you just want to let them know what we're doing is to protect you, so we could not have to do this for a long time. And that's the part that I think sometimes get lost, because people get trained when to drop machines and all that stuff, but they don't take enough time to think about the people, and everybody's not the same. And it could be two neighbors, same houses, two totally situations, two totally different things, so once people figure that out, I try to lead by example, really, so I don't really worry about what other people do. I try to just do the best I can.
Right. No, and we appreciate you, and consumers should as well. I mean, that's what we're trying to set within our folks that are part of the Restoration Association of Florida, and as many people as we can talk to about being on the same page as it is with informing consumers about the rights that they have, offering the right contracts that protect them, and not to lien their homes, but to have the best professionalism given to them in their one time of need. And again, like you said, I mean, these people who are 26 years in the home, paying their insurance every year for one time of loss, one time of need. They need somebody that's a professional, need somebody that's on their side, that's going to be an advocate for them. And Randall, so far, it's exactly what you do. And more to come here after the break here on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell with our guest, Randall, with Voda Cleaning and Restoration. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell live here every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on 94.9 FM and 950 AM here in the Central Florida area. If you missed us live here, we'll be on everywhere streaming by about, I would say, usually by Wednesday or Thursday. And a few business days, we're on with our new fresh show where are we at? We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, and we go to YouTube as well. So like us, subscribe us there, listen to every show and watch every show there. Find us on our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. Of course, we wouldn't have this all without the Restoration Association of Florida. Visit us there at www.raflorida.org. We are an association by contractors for contractors, informing consumers and contractors alike about what this industry is doing, offering the right contracts, ones that keep homeowners free from liens, ones that informs homeowners what is normal in the industry. I was going to say, who knows? Like, it changes on a dime, Hans. And as you know, looking at new legislation coming in, the laws change seemingly every year in property insurance. It changed in a great deal in 2022 to 2023, where we had 2 years back to back via special session and regular session 2023 of death nails of just not helping consumers at all, removing bad faith mechanisms from allowing insureds to go after insurers for penalties for slow walking them, for basically acting in bad faith. It was a penalizer to the insurance companies that said, if you didn't do the right thing and you were caught red-handed, then we could fine you with a multiplier up to 3 times the amount of damages, all within the same action. What they did is they separated that and said, okay, once you get a decree, once you get an order, a final order, and the insurance company was found to act in bad faith, then you can go after us in bad faith. And so most of the insureds just want to take their money and run, and so they can put their roof on.
Well, they get tired, man. It's really nothing more than that.
Litigation fatigue.
Well, and that's, we talk about delay, deny, defend.
Right.
The concept really holds true because people, nobody really, generally speaking, nobody wants this, right? Like no one's like, yeah, my house is all screwed up, I'm going to go get a new kitchen. Right. I mean, people just go like, I can't
believe I have to deal with all this
right.
all this stuff, and it's so much information, and you're getting some information from the insurance companies. They're saying, call us first, don't call any contractor that we don't know, use our vendors.
And Patronus again too, who I like to point out now is in Congress, right? He's in Congress now. I mean,
I know it's scary. I'm so sad for the state of Florida right now.
So, but with all that, but he was one who said, call your insurer. Let me help you. I'm just like the old line, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. You're like, who is least suited than someone who works for who runs DFS, which oversees the insurance companies, who took money from insurers to run when he ran for office. I mean, all these things, and we're supposed to put our trust as a consumer, put our trust in him to go, and which he said was, the insurer will look after you, they'll take care of you. And if they don't, let me know. And I'm like, you mean I call I'll call you on the weekend when you're on your cell phone and say, hey, Jimmy, they're not treating me right. And because when we talk about sophistication of the customer, they don't know they're getting screwed all the time. They just don't. Then they're either like, well, we tried. Well, they tried. Well, they sent out an engineer. They sent out some expert. He must be right. And the DFS is like, yeah. They're going to do you right. And if they can't cover it, then they really didn't know it. We talked about Citizens having a 77% denial rate, but his whole thing was, if they treat you wrong, you let us know and we'll go after them. The problem is going after them doesn't benefit the consumer, because all the things they put in 22, which were supposed to penalize the insurer, don't benefit the insured.
Right.
So if you say, Mr. DFS, they're not treating me fair, and let's say they actually went after him, which I have yet to see. Let's assume they do. The money doesn't go to the insured to help him fix his house like it's supposed to be.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, the penalty, well, I don't know where it goes, maybe the state of Florida,
Yeah.
but DFS is also in line or over top of the Office of Insurance Regulation, which is supposed to actually have lawyers that go after insurance companies for certain issues like complaints such as this and hold their feet to the fire. But as we know, and as I know, I know a lawyer that's in there that absolutely does nothing. It says once they took over, that they just have done nothing. Anyways, but and that's what we've seen. We've seen that insurance company fraud has just went rampant with them just raising rates over the above the 15% amount that the Office of Insurance Regulation was supposed to put up a public hearing before they give anything more than 14.9% to so we can be able to show up to these public hearings and say, why do they need 50% increase, 60%, 100% increase is what we've seen over the past couple of years? Because what we finally did see in the reports that were released in the Miami Herald and others, and even the Orlando Sentinel, is that they were purposely keeping their profits super, super low, not only because they have a cap of 5% in Florida, but they don't have a cap on those subsidiaries. So other companies, like get a check or file a claim with Universal Insurance. Yep. You'll get a letter from Alder Adjusting, who I'm sure gets well overpaid. But even then, I mean, can you imagine Universal? They're already showing $34-36 million quarterly profits to their investors because they're an IPO, so they're publicly traded. So you actually see all of their financials. Right. The other insurance companies were crying privilege and not offering us any of that stuff, just to find out that in all these articles, Orlando Sentinel, Miami Herald, is that these subsidiaries being so overpaid that they were showing billions and billions of dollars of profits, while the insurance company as a whole were showing millions of dollars worth of profits. So some to where they actually had to get money back from their subsidiaries to pay claims after Hilton and what did I say? Milton. I put them together. I'll just call the Hilton claims at hurricanes that came through. There you go. Helene and Milton there. But yeah, we have a strong start to the session now. There are videos out of Representative Danny Perez, who's the Speaker of the House this year, stating that he is going to form a committee that will oversee this insurance, I'll do my air quotes, fake crisis stuff, and that we'll start to see some things move in our direction at consumers here in the state of Florida. Hopefully rates go down as they start to now hold insurance companies' feet to the fire now that we have a lot of these reports out. So we'll see if we get some meaningful legislation this year now that all this stuff is out.
Well, I mean, for all the time you and I have done this show and all the years we talk about this, we always talk about the fact that they're making money and hiding it. Right. We always have. And for the first time, when Danny Perez was talking last week, he said, I've asked the Insurance and Banking Subcommittee to conduct hearings, of a full range of tools, including subpoenas, witnesses under oath, and hiring outside experts. Never heard them ever say that. I've never heard anybody in the legislature ever suggest that Florida would have hearings against one of their primary benefactors because they really are finally fed up. And that's kind of what the op-ed piece I talked about also. That's
amazing. He said change is coming. I was like, thank God, finally.
I mean, no one even says that. I mean, all the words, it's like Shawshank Redemption. I mean, all these things are being said, like hope is a dangerous thing. I'm like, I'm actually scared. I'm like, oh man, I think we have some people here who really want to make change for the benefit of the consumer. We haven't seen that in so long. You forget.
Yeah.
For years and years, all the legislation's been bad.
Right. And a lot of this language that's in here talks about even third party. So that's just kind of me sniffing around going, well, that's good to hear that they're giving attorneys fees also and offering out that olive branch to third parties. So you know me, I love third party action here in property damage. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this is great. If you're a consumer and you have water damage, you have mold, and you have to have that one time, in your life where you have to deal with this claim or this loss rather, you want to deal with folks that know what they're doing and can put you in the right space, put you back to pre-loss condition. And how important this is and why we're threading this in, why we want to have attorney's fees and costs behind you as a consumer is because this could take a long route, and by calling Randall with Voda Cleaning and Restoration, we'll be able to put you back to square one. They'll be able to bill your insurance company. And let's say they deny you, they deny everything, wrongfully so, and then you have to call Hans Kennon with Kennon Law Group, and then they have to file a suit. At resolution, everybody gets paid. So that means you get work done to your space while things are cooking on the unfortunate level if it goes that distance. Majority of the time, we hope so, fingers crossed, that they'll make the right decision prior to that. So,
Now,
Randall, have you...
sorry, just throwing one thing. The reason the fees are important is because they become leverage against the insurer to actually make a decision. For the last couple of years, they don't have to do anything because the odds of them owing any money for my time and my costs instead of taking it from my client is so low.
Right.
They can slow walk it and realize at their worst day, it's all they got to do is pay the bill.
That's right. But now you have respectable water mitigation, mold mitigation companies that have good quality, because that's what we always hear about. Show me the all the documentation, all the photos, all of the dry standards that are going around every day. Show me the dry logs, all that information. And you need a reputable company that is doing all of that and that can continue to give you that information so you can supply that to your insurance company so you can get paid. Isn't that right?
I mean, documentation, we know, is everything.
That's right.
If you don't have things documented, from photos to notes to everything, it's just speculation. You have to have everything written down. It has to read like a book, just like mortgages, just like anything else. We know that everything has to make sense. So the more documentations that we have, the more things that we have to provide to a James Cone or a Hans, because we have the documentation that they need in regards to that claim. They can't go and produce that stuff. So the remediator or the person that's actually helping the customer is supposed to actually handle all those things and pass it off. So this way, they could have as much information as possible.
That's right. And it's only going to help better the claim. The more documentation you have, the more in line it is, like you said, like a book, the more that they can just review that book, stamp it, sign and seal it, push it off to the next. Because most adjusters just want to move on, go to the next claim. And if there's a messy claim, then that usually then sticks on their desk, and that's the problem child, right? That's the one that they don't want to deal with. That's the one that sits on the sidelines for a while. But a nice, smooth, well put together booklet that all accounted to the action that I know that you put together is going to help them say, okay, everything is fitting right here. Let's go ahead and push this through. Let's start making claim payments. Let's get everybody put back to square one, right? Pre-loss condition. That's our goal. So again, Randall, how would we get a hold of you if there's something, if we do have a water loss, you're here in the Central Florida area, maybe you have a claim now, how can we get a hold of you?
Once again, my direct number is area code 631-455-7129. You can always reach me at my phone. If I don't answer, just send me a text or leave me a voicemail. But I'm always available. Like I tell people, it doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. If there's something going on with your home and it's an emergency, just give me a call.
Awesome. All right, and then I think we have maybe 30 seconds left here. My little timer here is blocked, but that's fine. I'll keep talking until I get shut off there.
One thing I find is that whenever these problems occur, it's always Saturday night or Sunday. It's never like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
I tell my lead tech, he's in the building with me, Audie. I tell him all the time, this is the most inconvenient business ever, but I love it. I mean,
and that's why we never know.
We don't know. We don't know when emergencies are coming, but it's the most inconvenient business. But it's very fulfilling when you could actually, help someone at that time when you know that they need your help.
All right. And we're back. 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial here in Central Florida. Thanks for joining us every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on The Answer. And if you missed us here live in Central Florida on Monday nights, then wait until about Wednesday or Thursday. We'll be on Spotify. We'll be on iTunes and nice and fresh with our video after production there on our YouTube page. So find us there and watch the video here back every week. And again, you will never see Hans in the same outfit in any special or any video if you watch them back to back. So I task you with that to back to back watch us on a bender one weekend, get together, get some beers, get some friends, and just watch everyone from one all the way till current, and you'll never see them wear the same outfit more than once. You like that? A little binge watching activity for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like Suits.
Right. Yeah. Now they have an LA version. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, now we got an Orlando version of Suits. I like it.
There
so
you go. That's
except
awesome.
I'm not wearing a suit. Luckily, you do. So I'm just the guy that came in. Like, I don't even remember the guy's name that just faked his way through the law degree. He actually didn't take the test, but
Mike Ross.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
he just memorized the entire book and then was able to just.
Well, it's kind of similar. It's similar to what you do.
Yeah, I just memorized the
You learn all the stuff.
things.
So we say that we always make that example, the play-by-play and color commentary. And you're the color commentary guy. You're like, oh, it's an outrage. It's an outrage. And I go, well, it wasn't really an outrage, Richie. It's more. Let me describe this.
I mean,
And
it's
you're
not
like,
beneficial for the consumers, but I mean, I see your passion behind it. But definitely a lot of passion in this industry for it, just because it's like you see so many people get screwed, and it's like, man, are you kidding me? To the point to where we saw some statistics out in the U.S. Times and all these other magazines about after Helene and Milton came through, who I've now coined as the Hilton twins, had came through here in Central Florida, is that people were getting unfairly treated. Citizens, 77% denial rate. And then you got Snake Farm, 50%, and then Allsnake right behind it at 47%.
Yeah,
You're
right
not
there.
in good hands. They are not a good neighbor. You're not good and treated fairly.
Well, and luckily, Citizens doesn't promise you anything, which I guess
Right.
is probably the upside of the whole place is that they have no slogan because they just they just don't pay.
They're just that bad. They don't even deserve a slogan of any sort. But like we were saying, I mean, we have some meaningful legislation at least teed up. So we have some hurdles to go through, right? Let's say if they're going to try to make things fair again for consumers, meaning bringing back some attorney's fees, some way to penalize the insurance companies for doing the wrong thing and not paying out very valid claims. Just like we saw, all the information is finally out. Now let's do something with it. But even last year, when we had a paid off governor by the insurance lobby, you had even Representative Geller. I remember I was there at one of the hearings. All of us were seeming like we're just screaming into a dark room. Nobody's listening, and we're like, we have the proof right there. The adjusters were coming and saying that, hey, we have proof that all of our stuff was changed, that the insurance companies are evil and all this stuff. They said, give me that information, and then afterwards they gave all these law changes away in favor of the insurance lobby based off of that fake news. And then so we had the fake crisis after that, where all these premiums went through the roof, and still to not have legislation that put the word premium reduction next to each other in all the hundreds and hundreds of pages of bills that were issued during those 2 years period. So finally, well, we'll go back to what he was saying. I was preluding all that. So he stood up and he said he was sick and tired of it too. And he says, why are we all not legislating? He goes, we were here to legislate. Let's do our job. And because everybody was pushing these crappy bills through, and they were like, some guy would come up there and say, this is a friendly bill. We have to push it through. And then, and then everybody's like, and then you vote for it. And you're like, is anybody reading this crap? It's like you could say like, I'm going to, arrest your sister and take her to wherever, and you're just like, okay, cool. It could be that bad. And they were like, okay. And letting it go through just because the bill sponsor was there and there was some power. I guess I am talking about the Senate Banking and Insurance Committees with Senator Boyd there. He would just be like, yeah, this bill is great. He didn't even read the bill. It just came from the governor's office. But anyways, so we had all that horse trading that didn't even come from the actual legislature. It came from the governor's office. Now, finally this year, I feel like we're going to have legislation from the people, right, that then voted for these legislators, which we are called constituents, to the legislators who are then voted for to be our voice of the public. And finally, we have some stuff that we want to see out, and we start to see some good versions of it. And that's so well needed because, again, I mean, the insurance companies can just screw over a consumer, and the consumer has to then pay out of their own pocket to get an attorney, to get experts. That's going to thwart a lot of people from then not only filing insurance claims just because all the faux noise about, oh, we're in a crisis, you're going to get dumped and all this stuff, which we know that House Bill 837 last year put protections for consumers, says they're not allowed to cancel you if you're in an insurance claim. They're not allowed to non-renew you. People don't know that. People don't know that you can file a claim against your insurance for a hurricane and it doesn't count against your loss runs. So if you're going to get new insurance or you feel like you're going to get dropped, file the claim for hurricane loss. It doesn't count against you.
And keep in mind that several years before all these changes in 2022, everything we're talking about them putting back in used to be there, essentially.
Right.
I mean, so it's not like we're like...
This was normal for 100 plus years.
Exactly. So we're all talking, I'll make sure people understand, we're not looking for change that's never been. We're looking simply to go back, try to go back to just how it was.
Right. And that's good enough for most of us. It's like not better, just bring it back to where it was. And again, since like 1893, it was that Florida Supreme Court case law that was just scrubbed out from $100 million that was paid from the insurance lobby that was supposed to be broke over to the governor's office, who was then running for president. And then he got his butt handed to him, but he was promised another $250 million from the insurance lobby if he actually won a primary. So, so here we are. We're stuck with the now prudent governor who's now going to run his wife for the next governorship. Like, what is that crap? I mean,
that can't. I just if that, I don't know.
Right. I don't need any more years with DeSantis. You know what I mean? I'm done with him. Thank you for getting us through COVID and keeping my small business open. Thank you. But then you were just a bought out, douchebag. So unfortunately, sorry about that, but you did it anyways.
And one thing that I was going to mention, and we talk about this new revelation that the insurers were hide money. The report was done prior to November of 2022. All these legislative changes went into effect in December of 2022. Right. So literally, the Office of Insurance Regulation paid $150,000 for that report, then literally put it in a drawer and let all this legislation pass through these special sessions. And only after 2 years of trying to get that report out, essentially under the Freedom of Information Act, was it actually released. So I mean, this all literally could have been prevented had OIR acted honestly and provided that report to the legislatures in November of 22.
Oh, well, November 22. Who was in power at that time? Was it David Altmaier?
David Altmaier? Was it David Altmaier?
Was that the guy that lit the dumpster fire on and then just went and
became a lobbyist?
2 weeks before the end of the year, where they were changing the laws from 6 years to hold to become a lobbyist after being a state worker from 2 years to 6 years. So he then dipped out right before that, literally 2 weeks beforehand, and then got named in January as a big lobbyist for a new national lobbying firm.
Right. Oh.
Right. After lighting that dumpster fire on in the state of Florida and insurance. So all under his realm, they hid and secure that information so that way they can make all these huge legislative changes under the mask of, we're in crisis, when they all knew there's no crisis and it was absolutely fake.
And I think what should have happened back when they started the dumpster fire, they should have called Randall at Voda cleaning.
Right.
That's when I needed someone. He's like, Randall, to put out the dumpster fire.
No
Make
kidding.
sure everybody knows what's
Well, I am
actually going on.
certified for fire and smoke as well, so that would have been a good idea.
There you go. See, we could have put it out and we could have seen clearly what was happening to us.
Yeah, but the sad part about all these changes is the people that are on fixed incomes, the regular people that work their whole lives hard. Now they're getting premiums that went up. Now their mortgage went up thousands of dollars, and they're not understanding it. They're still living a simple life, and now they have to go readjust. So this is
or sell,
right,
or sell, or readjust.
Right.
They have to, and that's the parts that make me like to do my job even more. Even though it's a landscape that is not cut and dry ever. We all agree on that. But I enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy the challenge of knowing that I don't know what I'm getting into a lot of times.
Right. And you know what I love about this association is that we talk to the contractors to offer, and to your point, I love working for the folks that possibly can't afford it, right? Because the rich people have their folks that they call, right? But it's the people that can't afford it, but the ones that can afford to pay their insurance every single month, every single year, and when they need it in their time of in their one time of need, I want to be there for them and say, I'll wait it out with you. And we have ways to do it. We have ways to bill against your insurance company to give a 90-day net terms, possibility of getting paid and reimbursed within that time limit. Carriers have 60 days to pay or deny. Right, then there's appraisal, there's mediation, and then unfortunately there's litigation, right? But then at that point there's a letter of protection that be given, so that way there's instructions to tell the contractor, hey, be cool, don't file a lien, you're going to get paid, but the lien goes from the lien from the home to a lien on insurance proceeds. So we're all going to now hold hands. It takes a village, like they said. So if the carrier doesn't do the right thing, then it has to go over to an attorney firm like Hans Kennon, and he files a lawsuit or then goes to mediation, and then when the payment comes, then we all get paid. That's truly a consumer protection play right there. I mean, how else are we going to be able to help the masses and get them to rebuild if people don't get money from their insurance company? 77% of all the claims that were filed by the largest insurer in the state of Florida, 1.3 million policies, right? 77% of them got denied after Hurricane Milton and Helene came through. 50% of all State Farm, who also has a huge market share, and then All Snake, they also 47% declination rate on all of it. It's like, what are you doing, insurance companies, right? I mean, they're holding on to money, they're making it more difficult, and honestly, they're making us be, the professionals in the game, because that homeowner that has a good experience is going to tell their friends about the good experience they had with you, Randall, the good experience they had with all of us, and then they're going to then know from then, if I do have a claim, I'm going to call Randall. He knows everybody that's going to bring in the whole team, and hopefully we're going to get paid, but if they don't, we have the right team to be able to handle it the right way.
Actually, real quick, I never asked you guys this about RAF for Restoration Association of Florida. I know the discussions we always have is that all of us are essentially in agreement that we'll all work together, kind of circle around the consumer and protect them from liens and other things, and we'll work out our bills together.
Right.
If they go to RAF, well, what can a consumer find there?
Right, mostly advocacy type of information, right, about how you can become a member and join.
Can they find Randall?
Yes, they
can.
can.
They'll find us as well.
Okay.
That's right. You can find a membership, a member directory on there, so you can find a member near you. So depending on where you're located in the state of Florida.
And that's someone who kind of, we talked about, is willing to work with the consumer.
That's right. That's right. And if you do have an insurance claim in the property realm, and a hurricane or storm or tornado, fire, any of those types of things, and you're having a problem or you're having an issue or you just need some information on, hey, how can I get this? Or even if you need an estimate, Randall can come out and propose that estimate for you and get you in touch with the right people.
And is that RAF.org or what's this name?
RAFlorida.org is how you find us. So RAFlorida.org is how you find us. The best social media and all the other ways you can find us on the new Google age, right, is available. RAFlorida.org. But for consumers, it's just a great resource. And most of us consumers have their own business as well. If you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, you want to get in the industry more and learn how to work with industry professionals in the insurance claim game, join us there or ask for more information. And as always, we want to give you, the consumer, as much information as possible from us, the ones that work, that are warriors in this industry, in the field. Thank you for joining us, as always, Hans. Always great to hear from you. And as well, Randall, last time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
last time, we have enough time.
Voda cleaning.
Cell phone number
and
2.
restoration
Get out your phones.
Of North Orlando. Okay, this is a franchise, so I run the North Orlando office. Michael Dunn is our owner. He's a great owner. We're here for the community. You can reach me at 631-455-7129. 631-455-7129.
That's awesome. Again, thank you guys for joining us on the show. You can find us everywhere, streaming from Spotify to iTunes. And definitely check us out on YouTube, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, or find us online, contractortalk.com. Thank you guys.
A new level of clean.